Some moments keep wearing your face after you stop wearing them. Maybe it is 10 minutes after dinner, and you are buckling your seat belt while the restaurant sign slips behind you in the window. Everyone had a good time. You said, "Anywhere is fine," even though it was not. You smiled at the joke that used your insecurity as the punchline. You said yes to the favor so quickly that your own reluctance arrived late, like someone knocking after the meeting had ended. That late arrival can feel confusing because nothing looks serious enough to explain it. There was no confrontation. No one accused you of anything. No one forced your hand in a visible way. The whole scene could be described from the outside as normal. Friendly people, small choices, harmless laughter, a quick agreement. But the mind does not only record what happened, it records what you had to quiet inside yourself so the moment could pass cleanly. That is the part that can follow you home. The room moved on before your feelings did. The table changed subjects. The group chat started sending new messages. The person who asked for help probably stopped thinking about it. And yet, somewhere in you, the scene is still lit. The smile is still there, not because you are dramatic, but because your system is trying to understand why agreement came faster than honesty. A smile can be real kindness. It can say, "I do not want to embarrass you. I do not want to make this heavy. I can bend a little." There is nothing wrong with that. Human closeness depends on 1,000 small acts of flexibility, but sometimes flexibility happens so quickly that you disappear inside it. You do not choose peace, you rush toward it. You do not decide the thing is fine. You perform fine before you have checked. Then later, when the pressure is gone, the question finally has room to speak. Did I just make myself easier to keep around? That question is not proof that you should have snapped, argued, or made the room uncomfortable. It is more tender than that. It is the mind pointing to a small, unfinished place, where the social moment ended before the emotional one did. So the echo is not weakness. It is information. The feeling is real, but it is not the whole public story. To understand why it lingers, we have to slow down at the exact second easygoing stops being ease and starts becoming a job. That is why the next section stays with those ordinary seconds after the slip, when the room is still mostly quiet and your interpretation starts getting louder. Easygoing can look like a personality until you notice the exact second it becomes an assignment. Picture your phone lighting up in a group chat. 3 typing dots blink under a plan that is already gathering speed. Someone suggests the restaurant. Someone else sends, "Yes, perfect." A time appears. A carpool starts forming. You do have a preference. Maybe the place is too loud. Maybe the time steals the one quiet hour you were counting on. The honest sentence rises almost fully formed. "Could we do somewhere quieter?" Then another message lands. And the room, even though it is only a screen, suddenly feels full. Your thumb stays above the keyboard. You imagine the pause your objection would create. You picture everyone having to adjust around you. You can almost hear yourself sounding picky, even though nobody has accused you of anything. So you type, "Sounds good," and add a little smile that makes the sentence smoother than the feeling underneath it. From the outside, that looks like flexibility. Inside, it feels more like stepping aside before anyone asks you to move. The same thing happens at work, in a much smaller way. Your document is open. The cursor is blinking in the middle of a sentence you are trying not to lose. A coworker stops beside your desk and says, "Can you help with one quick thing?" Their face is polite. Their voice is light. Nothing dramatic is happening, but your body reacts before your answer does. You know you could say, "Yes, after I finish this." You know that would be reasonable. Still, there is that half second where their waiting face becomes the whole room. Your own task starts to feel less legitimate because it is invisible, while their request is standing right there. So you smile and say, "Sure, no problem." The cost is not in the favor itself. The cost is in how quickly your own need disappears from the conversation. Or maybe it happens with family. By the time you walk in, the plan has already hardened. The dates are chosen. The sleeping arrangement is assumed. Someone says, that works for you, right? Everyone looks pleased because a problem seems solved. Your real answer would not be cruel. It would just be different. But different feels disruptive when the room has already celebrated agreement. So you nod. And here is the kinder truth. That smile probably came from somewhere intelligent. At some point, smoothing the moment may have protected you. It may have helped you stay connected, avoid tension, keep love or approval within reach. The smile was not weakness. It was a strategy. But when the strategy becomes automatic, the body keeps absorbing the part you never said. You were not without a preference. You were protecting everyone from having to meet it. And once that protection starts feeling normal, discomfort can begin to wear the same face as peace. That is why the next section can name the pattern clearly, instead of leaving it inside the flinch. Sometimes the hardest part is not what you gave up. It is how calm you looked while giving it up. In the moment, nothing seems serious enough to name. Someone chooses the restaurant you did not want. Someone turns a joke toward you and waits to see if you laugh. Someone asks, "Is that okay?" in a tone that already seems to hope the answer is yes. So you read the room, smile, and make yourself easy to continue with. The brain is trying to solve a social problem before it becomes visible. Human beings are built to care about belonging, so unclear cues can start to feel sharper than they really are. A delayed reply, a flat sure, a glance across the table, a little silence after you speak. Any one of these could mean nothing. But when you are already trying not to disappoint anyone, the brain treats, could mean something like it needs immediate attention. That is where discomfort starts wearing the costume of peace. You are not relaxed exactly. You are managing. You are smoothing the air. You are taking the version of yourself that has a preference, a boundary, a small objection, and lowering the volume until nobody has to respond to it. Then attention bias steps in. In plain language, attention begins leaning too hard on one cue. The friend who looked away becomes more important than the three people who kept talking normally. The coworker's short reply becomes louder than the rest of the conversation. The family member's pause starts to feel like a warning sign. And once your attention locks onto that cue, self-monitoring begins. You are not only watching them anymore, you are watching yourself being watched. Did your smile look forced? Did your answer come too quickly? Did your face reveal that you were annoyed for 1 second before you covered it? A private flicker inside you starts to feel like it has been projected onto the wall. That is the spotlight effect. It is the mind's habit of overestimating how much other people notice our inner reactions. The discomfort feels public because it is intense to you, but intensity is not the same thing as visibility. This is the relieving part. Most people are not reading you as closely as you are reading yourself. They are usually occupied with their own timing, their own awkwardness, their own need to seem fine. They may have missed the hesitation completely. They may have forgotten the comment already. They may not know there was a hidden cost in the room at all. That does not make the feeling fake. It means the feeling is a clue, not a public story. The smile looked like peace because it prevented an immediate ripple. Nobody had to pause. Nobody had to negotiate. Nobody had to be disappointed in real time. So the brain records the moment as success. Conflict avoided, connection preserved, room stabilized. But something quieter also happened. Your real preference did not disappear. It just lost its witness. And when a preference has nowhere to go in the moment, it often waits. That is why private tension is not the same thing as public danger. You may feel exposed without actually being exposed. You may feel judged before anyone has judged you. The room may have moved on, but the part of you that swallowed the truth is still keeping the receipt. That is why the next section can prove it, inside one ordinary example. The strange part is how peaceful it looked while it was happening. You nodded at the plan. You smiled when the joke brushed too close. You said, "Whatever works," and the room relaxed because the room believed you. Then, hours later, the cost appears in a quiet car ride home, with the dashboard glowing and the conversation already over. Everyone else has moved on. Your mind has not. This is the delayed bill of seeming easygoing. In the moment, the payment is invisible because it is made in tiny adjustments. You hold back the restaurant you wanted. You soften the sentence you almost said. You answer the favor too quickly because a pause might make you seem difficult. Nothing dramatic happens, but something gets filed away. The example matters because the pain does not come only from doing the thing you did not want. It comes from acting so convincingly fine that no one knew there was anything to notice. That is the invisible ledger, a screen left unread, because an honest answer would require too much explanation. A calendar full of yeses, each one small enough to defend, together forming a week you did not really choose. A message drafted and deleted, because even a mild preference starts to feel like it will change the temperature of the room. Researchers sometimes call part of this emotional labor the work of managing what you show so other people can stay comfortable. But in daily life, it does not feel like a concept. It feels like being tired after nothing happened. It feels like resentment with no clean target because technically you agreed. And that is where the confusion begins. If no one forced you, why are you upset? If you smiled, why does it feel unfair? If you said it was fine, why does your body keep revisiting the moment as if something was missed? The answer is not that you were fake. It is that you were self-monitoring so closely that your own preference became background noise. You were checking the room, checking the faces, checking whether disappointment might appear. Meanwhile, the part of you with a real answer had to wait. Kindness is not the problem. Being generous is not the problem. There is nothing wrong with bending sometimes, because someone else needs more room. The cost begins when bending becomes your proof of worth, when being pleasant means leaving yourself out before anyone even asks you to. So the later discomfort is not proof that you are petty or overreacting. It may be the first moment your real reaction finally has enough quiet to speak. By then, it rarely looks like one big breakdown. It looks like many small moments where your needs were taught to wait, until waiting started to feel like who you are. That is why the next section can turn the pattern into a usable move, instead of one more private rehearsal. The damage is rarely dramatic enough for anyone else to notice. It looks more like standing in the kitchen with your coat still on, realizing you agreed to a plan you did not want, because the group chat moved too fast. It looks like a laugh that comes a half second after the joke, the kind that tells everyone you are fine with it, while some quieter part of you goes still. It looks like saying, "No worries," so often that the words start sounding like a personality. That is why the cost can be hard to name. Nothing explodes. The relationship continues. The office stays polite. The family dinner gets through dessert. But a lesson is being taught in the background. People learn where you will make yourself smaller. They learn which questions they do not have to ask, because you have been answering them before they arrive. They begin to know a version of you who is easy to schedule, easy to tease, easy to add one more thing onto. And then the stranger part begins. Your needs start sounding inconvenient, even inside your own head. You think it is not worth bringing up. You think maybe I am being too sensitive. You think they already have enough going on. And each small compromise becomes a little note in memory private retelling. Asking made the room tighten. Saying no changed someone's face. Having a preference slowed everything down. So before anyone else has to deny you, you quietly deny yourself first. That is not weakness. It is protection under uncertainty. The smile was trying to keep connection from becoming fragile. It was trying to say, let this stay smooth. Let me not become difficult to invite, difficult to love, difficult to work with, difficult to keep. But recognition changes the shape of the pattern. The strategy was protecting connection. And at the same time, it was training connection to require less and less of other people. Not because they are all careless. Often because you gave them a version of you that looked easier than the truth. So the next moment does not have to become a speech. It can become a ladder. Interrupt the automatic yes with one breath before the sentence leaves your mouth. Name what is actually happening. I am afraid this will make me seem like too much. Widen the room, One pause, one unread message, one flat expression is not the whole public story. Then check the evidence. Did they actually reject you, or did your body predict rejection before the room had time to respond? The relief gets lighter here without becoming simplistic. You do not have to accuse yourself of being fake. You can see that you were trying to stay safe in a room that felt larger than it was. And from there, ease has a different doorway. Not proving you need nothing. Not smiling past every clue. Just learning that a preference can enter the room without becoming a threat. The way back is quieter than the performance was. It begins in the small second, before yes leaves your mouth. Someone asks where you want to eat, and instead of scanning the table for the answer that will cause the least friction, you let yourself notice the first honest preference. Maybe it is only, not that place again. Maybe it is, I need to check my energy before I promise. Maybe it is, I can help but not tonight. That is not becoming difficult. That is becoming visible. Real easygoingness is not the absence of preferences. It is the ability to have one, without turning the room into an emergency. You can still be kind. You can still be flexible. You can still change your mind when another option truly works better. But the difference is that flexibility comes after you have counted yourself as one of the people in the room. There is a pause that may feel almost rude at first. The phone lights up. The invite is there. The old reflex wants to answer quickly and warmly and smoothly, and before anyone can feel disappointed. This is the usable second. Let the message sit. Let your face settle. Let your body learn that a delayed yes is not a rejection, and a gentle no is not a collapse. Someone may be mildly disappointed. They may prefer the easier version of you. They may need a moment to adjust to the fact that you are no longer automatically available. That moment can feel bigger inside you than it looks from the outside. But mild disappointment is part of ordinary life. It is not always a broken bond. Sometimes, it is just two people discovering where the edges are. And when the old tension rises later, in the car, in bed, with the conversation revisiting in pieces, you do not have to treat it as proof that you made a mistake. You can ask a smaller question. Did I do something harmful, or did I simply let myself exist more clearly? That question gives the whole story back its proper size. The goal is not to become perfectly unbothered. It is to stop making inner discomfort carry the authority of fact. You can feel heat in your chest and still have chosen honestly. You can worry about the room and still discover the room survived. Private tension is not the same thing as public danger. The feeling is real, but the public story is still unfinished. The durable lens is simple. Private tension is not the same thing as public attention, and one steadier question can stop a feeling from becoming a harsh public story too quickly. Carry forward one calmer question. What actually happened, and what part of the story arrived from the feeling itself? That matters, because a smaller first interpretation gives the room a chance to stay human.